For the last 30 days, I have switched away from my Galaxy S25 Ultra to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I think I get it now. Let's go. When I decided that I was going to switch to this phone, I knew that I was going to make a series of videos that would culminate in this one, my review of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Because really, what sort of moron YouTuber would I be if I didn't do this? But I had a condition for myself. I had to review this in the same way that every big reviewer reviews Samsung phones, isolated on its own, without the ecosystem to dig it out of any holes that it might find itself in. I kept using my Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, my Book 4 Edge, my Tab S9/Tab S11 Ultra. I used all of those alongside this. And even though I've used it isolated, I have given the phone every single chance I could. It's always stayed with me, got a SIM card in here, and I've used it in the same way I would try and use my other phones. At the end of this 30-day period that I've used it for, there's a lot to say. I'm going to start by saying something that might shock some of you. I actually overall like the design. Not all of it, but from an overall concept, I like what Apple have done. I actually really found myself liking the aluminium unibody. I think it's kind of like a soft feeling in the hands. It doesn't feel hard or sharp. I like that Apple have rounded the edges at the back too, and it smoothly flows from the frame to the back, which I find also really nice and comfortable to hold. And of course, matte finishes is my personal favorite, and I like the matte. And it doesn't hurt that my favorite color is blue. And this type of blue in particular is my favorite, and I love this blue. This probably helps me appreciate the design more. I have grown to appreciate the camera plateau, just in the sense that I think it kind of gives a bit of personality and character to the back, like having it square here and then the square glass cutout kind of gives it something. It is busy though. There is a lot to look at here. And fortunately, you don't look at the back of your phone a lot, but I don't actually hate it as much as I was at the start. The two-tone finish with the glass cutout and the aluminium, probably not the biggest fan of. I think it makes it too busy, too convoluted. But again, it's not a big issue. Overall, I think the design is quite nice. Aside from the physical buttons that are here, which is a lot, like there's a lot going on, I actually find it too heavy. And I guess that's just because I've been using a lot of lighter phones this year. The 231 grams of this is noticeable, not just because of the fact that it's massive, 6.9 inches, but the fact it sort of leans on my pinky when I'm holding it, and that adds a bit of pressure onto my pinky, and you can feel it, especially if you're using it for extended periods of time. And there's this odd occurrence that happens when I'm holding it in the middle here and tapping on it. Feels like it's flexing, like there's a lot of dead space in here. And I'll see if I can show you a bit close up with the camera here. It sort of depresses into itself in this middle section, and I really don't know why it's doing it. And it does it on the back too. It's almost like they've kept a layer of air in between all the components, and you can feel it when you're pressing down on it. It's odd. I don't like it. Personally, I haven't had any scratching issues. My aluminium is scratch-free at this point. So those issues other people have had, not something I've experienced, and that's even without a case on it. I definitely can understand people's appreciation for screen protectors though, because I think having a screen protector on a phone is good, and channel sponsor Torres has you covered there. Very easy to apply as well. And I even got one for my friend's 17 Pro, put it on, and they were very, very happy with it. Now, this is specifically a Pro Max issue, but this is too big. 6.9 inches is too massive for an iPhone. Not for any other brand of phone, but specifically an iPhone. Because iOS does nothing to cater for one-handed usage, or to even take advantage of the bigger screen. It just doesn't allow for it. It's unwieldy to use. Because iOS hasn't got those functions in there to customize controls, you find yourself having to do hand gymnastics just to get around the software. Notifications, a nightmare. Because of the fact it's the top left corner of the phone, you have to reach all the way up to the top, and you just can't do it. You have to do very, very big hand gymnastics to do it, especially when the phone's unlocked. I'll get to the notifications as part of the software a bit later, but at least for accessing them, awful. I was actually having this discussion with some iPhone users a couple of weeks ago, and their solution, if you've got the phone unlocked, their solution to access notifications is to lock the phone and then swipe up from the bottom, and that didn't even work that time, and then swipe up from the bottom to get your notifications up. So the solution is to always lock the phone, then get to notifications. That's not a solution. That's a workaround for poor software design. Honestly, you could make a swipe down, bring the control center and the notification panel down. And then instead of that being swipe down for Finder, you should use swipe up, because currently swipe up does nothing. So make swipe up Finder as an option and make it easier to bring down the notifications one-handed by swiping down. And don't tell me one-handed mode is an option, because it's not. It's a very, very poor piece of software. Hate using it. Back to what I do like though, and that's the display. The display, I've found myself actually inspired by it, looking at it, especially outdoors. Under indoor lighting, I've noticed the color's a little bit flat, but as soon as you get outdoors and in those bright environments, punches the brightness up and the colors really pop and they're very vibrant. Everything stands out. Contrast is good. It's sensational to use outdoors. I think Apple obviously have really thought that displays are important. And this year, they've really given us an excellent panel. Anti-reflective coating is not really anti-reflective. It's a little bit better, I guess, than what they've offered before, but compared to other phones I've used, nah. But not comparing it to something else and just isolating the display on its own, yeah, it's great. Browsing socials is good. Watching content is great. It just gives you a really nice sort of contrast and colors, and any environment too. It works really nicely. I do wish I could tune it, especially noticing how it's a bit flatter indoors. But again, this is Apple we're talking about here. They're not going to allow that. Something that Apple have really got down pat though is the lock screen, and especially always on display. Shouldn't say especially because it isn't the best, but it is very, very good. There's nice customization options. It's not too overwhelming for people if you want to change something. And they've got some nice depth effect too, with the clock being behind the subject, and the sort of swiping and interacting and animations look really nicely as well. Look really nicely. Come on. Now, talking about the cameras. And like the phone, I've given the cameras every opportunity. And having used it for 30 days, they are very overhyped. Probably the least surprising thing I've ever said on my channel is that an iPhone set of cameras is overhyped. But using them, they just are. Even as a content creator and someone who films a lot on their phones, I just don't find them as good as what people think they are. And now this isn't saying they're bad, because they're not. They're an excellent set of cameras, and there's some really good functions in there for creators to take advantage of. But the way people describe the iPhone's cameras for content creators especially, it's like they can cure diseases, because they just gawk at them and talk about how great they are and all the options and the settings. And I just don't find that any of them make a difference. And for the general user who's using these pro phones, I don't think what they offer at a base level is good enough. I want to start with the photos. What I've noticed in the output of the photos is that Apple seemed to brighten them up. Every dark area is brightened, the shadows, the background, it's not really contrasty or there's not a lot of life. It's just everything is brightened and it's very flat. It's just something I've noticed in the hundreds of photos that I've taken with it so far. But with that brightness actually comes great detail. They're all 48 megapixel cameras, all three of them. And by default, they allow you to shoot at 24 megapixel. And I think that 24 megapixel does give you more detail than any other phone that I've used. And that's nice, especially when taking photos of my family. I can really see the detail in things like their shirts and the grass and the areas that we're in. It's detailed, but also bright. Landscape photos, though, very underwhelmed. I just don't understand what Apple's processing is here. When people take a photo of a beautiful landscape, they kind of want that to reflect back in the photo. And I feel like Apple just dull it. And something I've also really noticed is they make it really warm. There's a very yellowy, warm tone to all of their photos in landscape environments. And I don't like that. It's too warm. As far as the camera app goes, Apple do give you some more flexibility when it comes to capturing things, but it doesn't mean there is a lot, but there's stuff in there that you can take advantage of should you want to. There's some nice video options. And I think the video options for me are kind of almost what saved my entire experience, especially the selfie camera. This is now video from the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the selfie camera. The fact that you can shoot vertical, as you can see from my main camera, but have it be shot horizontal and landscape is so good for when you're out and about. Because sometimes when you're holding a phone like this, it doesn't even look like you're filming. So you can film a reaction, you can film a walk and talk, and it just looks more natural than if you didn't have to do it this way or if you had to hold it another way. So I just love this option, and the fact that it does it in 4K 30 as well just adds that extra bit of content creation genius that I think Apple are sometimes known for. And this for me kind of almost saved the entire experience. But filming from the rear cameras, I noticed something very off about that. Whilst the overall video feature set is actually quite good, you've got 4K 120 in the native camera app. You don't have to go to a pro mode to do it. And you've got things like ProRes, Log, and HDR, all toggles that you can add in the cameras app itself. Whilst they're there, I think Apple limit it really aggressively. You can't shoot 4K 60 ProRes Log unless you have a SSD plugged in. It just straight up won't let you do it, which is a bit annoying. Like, it'll let you do 4K 30, but that's the extent of it. And the Log is great. It does give you some nice options for content creators, but you will need a laptop to sort of do anything with it. It has nice video output for standard sort of 1x video shots. Like, it'll take decent video. There is some weird artifacting and sort of wobbling going on in some environments that I've noticed, but on the whole, the video has been quite good from the main camera. But as a set of cameras, I've just felt a little bit underwhelmed by their video capabilities. And don't think I haven't used the cameras, because I have. Over the last 30 days that I've been using the phone, I was on the social media team for a massive football tournament here on the Gold Coast. And fortunately, I needed the iPhone actually, because the social media team all works on iOS. And in that 2-week period, I used the iPhone's cameras to capture a lot of football content. And I used the 4x camera for a lot of it, because standing away on the field, you had to get in nice and close. And in that usage, there's just some things I noticed about that 4x camera, and I've since noticed it even more so, is that one, there's some really weird wobbling effects going on with the 4x camera. It doesn't control the details. It could be a dynamic range issue. I'm not sure. But you just see it time and time again in the 4x camera. There's issues in the background and wobbling that I don't like. And two, that 4x camera is not very good for stabilization. Holding it handheld, you can maybe get away with it. But the second you start to sort of go on the move, huge problems with the 4x. Even yesterday, walking back from the pool, went out with the kids. I just wanted to film 4x the kids walking with each other as we're walking home. And it just could get it stable. The 4x is meant to have this really nice cinematic look, close-ups, and you just couldn't do it. Further to that too is that 4x camera doesn't have a good focus distance. It can only focus about 1 meter away. So if you wanted to do some sort of telemacro stuff or get some really close-ups of things and be close to it at the same time, doesn't allow for it. I'm not meant to mention competitors here, but the S25 Ultra with its 5x camera actually has good stabilization, and it also has a closer minimum focus distance, meaning you can get close-ups. Like when I did my comparison, I wanted to do the S25 Ultra 5x versus 4x, and when I tried to film the S25 Ultra with the iPhone, I couldn't with that 4x camera. It switched to the 1x. It was all grainy, didn't look very good. Then the 5x on the S25 Ultra allowed me to use it. A perfect example of this 4x camera not being great is I'm currently watching my son play football at a five-a-side tournament, and there's this big massive cage here, and if I want to film any of it and get close, I can't, because the 4x camera either won't focus or it actually won't work because it's grainy, because of the fact it's actually using the 1x camera to get to the 4x. It's just not a very good solution what Apple have done here, and for a pro phone, it's really frustrating. So yeah, whilst the iPhone was good to have for that tournament because it meant I could airdrop to people and blah, 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 all that stuff, I just actually didn't prefer shooting with it. I much preferred using my Samsung. Now it's time for iOS. iOS, I get. This is the part I kind of get now about iPhones. I get why people use it. Apple give you a very particular way of doing things. There's one way to swipe back in an app from the left side of the screen. There's one way to go home. Swipe up from the bottom. That's it. Notifications, one way to access them. Control center, one way to access it. Everything is simple. There's only one way to do things. You don't have to learn different usage behaviors for different things. And there's no way to change it. Totally get it. And I understand that some people prefer that because it means they don't have to think. They know the one way. For me though, man, am I bored. So bored of the same thing and not being able to change things to suit how I actually use a phone. And the thing for me is too, the extra steps that iOS make you do, I think for me, again, sort of ruins the experience. Like I've customized my home screen. I say customize, but I've made a couple of folders with apps in it. And I've kind of got them separated by sort of brand. Like I've got a Google folder, and I've got like a social media folder. In my Google folder, I've got things like my Studio app, I've got my YouTube app, I've got other Google services in there. And when I want to switch from that into social media, there's so many steps involved. I've got to swipe up. And then because I've accessed it from the folder stays open. Why doesn't it just go straight to home? It's a home gesture. Anyway, then I've got to tap out of the folder. Then I go to the new folder, wait for that to load. It's like half a second. And then open the new app. And then I've got to do that whole process every single time I want to sort of switch between different social media apps or YouTube or other apps on the phone. Why is there so many steps? Then there's the other thing that you need to do. Like if you don't have an app on your home screen, you got to go to the app library. And if you've got a couple of home screens set up, you've got to swipe all the way to the end to go to the app library. And then because there's no just list of apps, it's all grouped. You've got to find the grouping that Apple have made and then find the app within that. For me, it's just a lot of extra steps to do something. And I don't understand it. Notifications are another one that I've kind of really disagreed with because there's just a convoluted list and there's a lot going on in there. I have appreciated one element, notification summaries. Apple kind of have this thing where it will group at certain points of the day summaries of notifications from different apps and sort of give you a breakdown of what's happening from those notifications. That I can get on board with. But then when you swipe up and continue going to the rest of the notifications, the list is just really long. And swiping notifications away, another nightmare. I say this as someone who appreciates the fact that I've spent $2,000 on a phone. For me, it just doesn't feel very user-friendly. I've got to swipe the notification away. I've got to really forcefully to swipe it, or there's this extra sort of clear thing that comes up. But if I want to swipe the other way to get rid of the notification, you can't do that. It then will take you to the news page or accidentally bring up the camera. And a lot of that is down to the fact, like I said, I get it because Apple give you one way of doing something and then there's no convolution about how to do it. And then once your muscle memory gets used to that, you kind of become okay with it. But it's just such a boring operating system. And I guess largely because I don't have other Apple products, there's just not much to do. I really don't understand how people who are tech enthusiasts love iOS so much because there's just nothing in there. There's no settings, there's no things to change. If you want to change anything, it's got to be done in a certain set of steps, like screenshotting home screens, and then you've got to download all these third-party apps and know what you're looking for. I just prefer stock options that give you more customization. Then from a performance side of iOS, I get why people like this because aesthetically, Apple have so many nice visual touches, like just little details that other brands just don't consider. Like not even liquid glass at this point. I'm talking when you swipe to bring the Finder up, the search menu, the little search icon on the home screen sort of expands out. And then when you close it, expands and retracts back. It's just such a nice visual touch that, again, no other brands really sort of consider that level of detail. And it's everywhere in iOS. They've got those touches all over the place. Then you introduce things like liquid glass. And whilst I don't think that functionally it does anything, visually, it does give you some emotion. Like in the Photos app, which is the worst app ever, but I'm going to save that for another video. The liquid glass touches sort of are nice when you're swiping between the different things that you can toggle on. Again, Apple think like that. That for me is form over function. I described it in a podcast. iOS is like going to a hotel. It's nice, everything looks pretty, but you can't change anything in there because it's not yours. It's a hotel. And then when you go to another phone, my own personal preference, Samsung, that's like going home, where you live and you own the place and you can hang things on the wall. You can take something down if you don't like it. You can knock that wall down. You can change your kitchen. And there's so many different ways you can do it. Apple is like that hotel where it's perfectly manicured. Someone will come and clean it up to look exactly the same again the next day, but you can't change it. That's what I feel like when I use iOS. And the phone performs functionally very good. Like, I have no complaints, and it shouldn't. An A19 Pro chipset should be the best in class. But again, I just don't feel like Apple take advantage of that, at least for doing things. One way they do take advantage of it is battery efficiency, because whilst it has a 4,800 and something milliamp hour battery in here, and that's because I've got the physical SIM card model, so Apple really do a great job at efficiency of usage. I took this off the charger this morning, and granted, I haven't probably used it as heavily this morning, but I've definitely recorded some video with it outside, and it is still at 100%. That is, for me, quite impressive. Let's have a look at the screen on time for today, actually, at this 100% mark. 16 minutes of screen on time, but to not even drop a percentage point is very, very impressive. So yeah, I think that performance-wise, the phone will perform great. I haven't bought into this whole third-party apps which work better on iPhone, because when I've been using X or Twitter, bugs galore in there, just bugs galore. Even first-party stuff. I've had heaps of bugs when it comes to the iPhone and the Photos app. Twice now, I've had the same bug where it will get stuck on the share screen and it's impossible to close it. I can't tap anywhere, it doesn't swipe down, it just stays stuck on it. And you have to completely close the Photos app to reopen it to fix it. Now, bugs happen in any phone, so I'm not going to make the whole phone experience about it. But I dropped it here at the end because of this whole narrative that iPhones just work. And I just want to showcase the fact that they don't just work. There will be bugs. And when you factor in bugs plus the rest of iOS's limitations, it's one boring phone. So whilst I get why people use iPhones and iOS from my experience with the 17 Pro Max, I also get why I don't, because it's just shown me every reason why I prefer to use what I do use and will continue to use the Samsung. But I do think it's going to be fun for me each year to revisit the newest iPhone, just to see what we're missing out on the Android side, which isn't much. And also just to see if Apple actually catch up or if Samsung keep extending their capability and feature set. That's what's going to happen over the next few years with this channel anyway. Hit subscribe for all of that stuff as it happens, and I'll see you guys in the next one. You.